Buenas noches. Good evening. I always like to accept these invitations to talk because everything that I do has to do with understanding. And in talking and in reaching understanding, we get things done. It's been my privilege to be the head of Spanish American Civic Association since I left college. And it's been the only job I've ever had. Therefore, I've never had a promotion. And that's what you have to look forward to. But it has been truly a privilege and honor. I wouldn't do anything else with myself. Even if the phone would have rang and somebody offered me something else. But my bridges I know I won't be able to do that. My bridges were blown a long time ago in this town. So, on purpose. And as honored as I am in being able to do the work that I do, it really is crappy work. It is doing the improbable or the impossible with no money, and everybody telling you it can't be done, and everybody getting on board with you after you've been hanging out there to dry for 3 years, 6 years, and at some points on some projects. And when everybody knows that it's going to work, everybody comes to help you. That's okay. I've gotten used to it, and actually I appreciate all the help I get. My colleagues said that after 40-some years, you ought to retire. I tell them, I'll retire when you retire. I'm not tired. I'm not going to retire. I'll keep doing this job as long as I can. However, as a trade-off, every few months, I got to put on a backpack, and I got to go see humanity. And what I want to talk to you about is some of the impressions that I've had after putting a backpack on and walking, riding on buses, and going south into Latin America, and stretching my head quite a bit. And I was impressed with immigration. That was the first thing I want to talk to you about. I'm so impressed with the immigration. I'm not talking about the immigration of Mexican Central Americans coming into the United States. I'm impressed with the Americans going the other way. And I kept finding towns in Mexico and Central America that were 20% expatriate Americans, 30%. Businesses set up, integrating themselves in the community, working as Americans do, that we're very good at, setting up volunteer organizations to fix up the libraries, to do orphanages, to do childcare. I was very proud to see that. And so the thing that I want to tell you is that as we talk about immigration, it is intensifying on both ends of the spectrum. Now let's talk about the other direction. The number of Central Americans and Mexicans pouring into our southern border. And I want you to do the research on this. Don't take my word for it. There has been a zero net gain in illegal immigration in the last few years. Zero. Do you mean to tell me that illegal immigration is the number one political topic of the day and it doesn't exist? Don't trust me. Do the research. Somebody is taking us for a ride. But that's another story. I'm just so impressed by the fact that we are becoming, as John Paul the 23rd. I like popes because they spend a lot of time in prayer and meditation, and they say things that we realize the importance of 20 years later. But he said, as soon as he left Mexico and came to the United States for a visit, he said, let there be not a South America, a Central America, or a United States or a North America. Let there be one America. As improbable as it is beginning to happen. There is, and there has never been a southern border. There has been a wonderful interaction on the southern border, culturally, economically, that's interdependent on both sides. And it's really a wonderful thing to see. It's too bad that some people don't see it that way and try to create a problem, A, that doesn't exist, as I mentioned to you. But secondly, it inflames, it separates and divides us in a way that is so distasteful, that is unbecoming of us. But anyway, I am getting too much into politics. My experience with immigration, new arrivals, people coming into the United States is very personal. There is a real sentiment of keeping refugees out. I don't share that sentiment. I was a refugee. I came from Cuba. We came here with $8 in our pocket. I was talking to my friend Steve over here. We both share the Cuban American heritage, $8. But I saw within one generation the Cuban community in Miami turn that whole city around into a vibrant city where it was dead. All that ever went on in Miami, if you were old enough to remember, was Miss America pageant. And then the city died until the next year. It only came alive in the winter. And look at Miami now. And it was fueled by immigrant energy. Miami continues to be fueled by energy from other people, Venezuelan, all of Central America, Brazilian, labor and investment. In Lancaster, I remember when it was a vibrant city. Then I remember Park City opening up. And then the next day, downtown died. And for 20 years, this city atrophied. It was dead. And people had given up hope in this city. And people said all the talent has left the city. And we said, no, if you want to leave the city, just leave the city. We'll figure out what to do to bring it back. What brought Lancaster back, the official story will be great planning, investment, this and that. Okay, fine. But the real story is that new arrivals in the Lancaster community fueled the resurgence of this city. We, as a Latino community, became the new homeowners. We became the new labor force. And we plucked chickens for 2 generations, changed a lot of, cleared a lot of bedpans, did a lot of floors, and our struggle now is, okay, we will continue to do some of that, but we want health care, we want job security, we want increase in wages, we want to send our kids to college, we want to become homeowners. And that's where my work takes me to. As a community, we had a very difficult socioeconomic situation. We have currently 27% unemployment in the Latino community. African American unemployment is 31%. We have, between those two communities, we have roughly the same level of underemployment, about 40%. 60% of the community lives at or below the poverty level. Pretty devastating statistics. And I know that you are proud of being in the presence of F&M and being students of F&M. I'm also proud of F&M because one of your departments, your public policy department under Professor Antonio Colari, issued a paper entitled Lancaster Prospers ? And it alluded to the fact that while the political and business structure did an excellent job in fixing the urban core, it seemed to have neglected the neighborhoods. And that was not well received. But Dr. Colari stuck to his guns, and it had a very welcome effect. The mayor, who's a great mayor, and the business community, which is a great leadership. You see, well, I'm kind of a politician in a way, but I actually mean it. They're good people because I work with them a lot. The mayor led the mayor. Dr. Colari's efforts led the mayor to appoint a committee to combat poverty, which is now working, and we hope that it'll do a great deal. However, be assured that those things don't fix anything. It's the community itself that fixes things. That's my premise since day one, and I have seen nothing but proof of that in my work. So at the Spanish American Civic Association, we have an interesting experiment. We are trying to jumpstart a community and get them out of poverty. And so the prescription is, what if we take ownership of our problems? They are our problems. They're not the government problems. They're not this people's problems or those. They're our problems. We will do the sacrifice. We will do the heavy lifting. We will take the risks, and then ask everybody else for help. And I would tell you that that is the prescription that has worked for the Latino community, and that is beginning to make sense throughout this country as well. Because we felt a sense of that the community needed to get united, we put together a community center. We started providing basic human services. We knew that we had a drug and alcohol and behavioral and mental health problem. We got into the behavioral health field. Now we have residential treatment programs, outpatient treatment programs, all bilingual. We took care of the problem. Boy, it was tough learning how to bill for things. It was tough learning how to do these things, but now that level of knowledge stays in the community as to how to do it. And every time we did something, we were told you can't do it, and every time we did it, that issue is over. We proved that we could do it. We knew that we had bad housing. So we set out to build new houses and to put people to own those houses. And you should have seen how bad our first house was, how lousy that was. But you should see the beauties that we do now, 20 years afterwards. And we have built over 80 new townhouses, created solid homeownership zones, and we continue to address things in our community that need done. Last year we put together a technology center, a $3 million investment. I told you before, I don't have any money, so I have to go and get it from somebody. But ask and you shall receive. We did get that money, and we have now the first bilingual technology center in the Commonwealth. We needed to talk to our community, so we put together a radio station, a public educational radio station. It's been operating for 27 years, and it's a beauty. We're so proud of it. We also, Mayor Gray said, I said, Mayor, we need a television station. And he says, I happen to have 2 access channels. You want one? Sure. So we turned it into a community, a classroom in the home educational channel. It's a baby. It's only 3 years old. We're going to grow it into something really special. We brought in a community credit union into the neighborhood. Now we're building a shopping mall that will include a 10,000 square foot community grocery in an area that is a food desert because there aren't any grocery stores. And we're building more facilities for businesses to expand and to grow and to flourish from our community. And that has been the work that I've been privileged to do. But I think that people give us support because they hear our message loud and clear, which is really an immigrant message. We will take responsibility. We will do the work. All you need to do is support us. And that has become a very easy message for me to sell to people because they see the results. Lancaster is a special place because there are two cities nearby. One was Hazleton, and the other one is Lancaster. They both had immigrant communities in their midst. And the mayor of Hazleton, he really wanted to be a congressman. So he baited the immigrant community, and he started going after them and with ordinances that later state Supreme Court said, that's unconstitutional. Get out of here with that. And what he did, he killed his local economy. And I keep getting phone calls from Hazleton civic leaders saying, we want to jumpstart our town. We want to heal some wounds. Could you help us out? And of course, we will. But the mayor got what he wanted. He's sitting in Congress. Lancaster, on the other hand, has a history of welcoming immigrant community. And when we say that Lancaster is you know how Lancaster is, it's so uptight and it's so provincial and it's so conservative. Bull. Lancaster is a very smart town and is very progressive in its own way. It just pretends to be the other way. And the leadership in this town said, okay, so we've got immigrants in our midst. How can we make money off of them? Okay? How can we welcome them in? There's the new labor force. And they purposely opened their doors to a community, and the return on investment for Lancaster has been remarkable. Just look around to the other communities. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's a Mennonite tradition, very church-oriented, and by tradition, it welcomes the immigrant, it welcomes the refugee. And I think that permeates in Lancaster, and I think it makes it a truly special place. I want to tell you a story about what Mexicans call, because there's an exchange, right? There's always this, America's going this way. You know what the Mexicans call white longhorn cheese? They call it queso Menonita, because Mexico is dotted with Mennonite homesteads. And they made this cheese, and it's branded now as queso Menonita. And the beauty of it is that they have gone down there to buy land that they couldn't find up here, cheap land. They have become wealthy because they're so industrious. They've hired local labor, and it's a blessing to see. People that are absolutely so separate in culture and in habits and in beliefs, how they can get together and how they can really work for each other's advantage. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do here, to work for each other's advantage and to create a community that is accepting of each other. And I hope that you'll think a little bit about this. For me, getting away and seeing humanity and putting on a backpack is the best education I've ever received. And I hope you'll do that as well, and stretch your mind as to the wonderful slice of humanity that's out there. And I want to thank you for listening to me.